We're holding Helek Bet, Derech Shmini of Derech Hashem, where he discusses in more detail how the Hashgacha of Borei Olam works, how Kadosh Baruch Hu supervises the world. And towards the end, we'll discuss a little bit more what the Hashgacha Pratit is, because in the past, we spoke more in general terms what Hashgacha is, what Hashgacha Klalit is, the general Hashgacha of Borei Olam that he supervises, that he manages the world that he created. He does not want it to self-destruct. So he takes care of everything, whether it's human beings, whether it's all living creatures. But there's something also called Hashgacha Pratit, divine providence on an individual level that applies most to Am Yisrael. That is a special relationship that we have with him. And as we will see later on, it is observable. People can actually see it in real life, that there is something like that if they pay attention. But before we get into that, just a few more ideas about how this Hashgacha works and what it's made out of, and how it expresses itself in the world. So he explains as follows. This Hashgacha, number one needs to be aware that the Hashgacha of Borei Olam is always Yosher u'Mishpat. It consists of certain degree of correctness and justice. It's not corrupt, it's not, how should we say, by chance, it's not by any whim. Kadosh Baruch Hu has a reason for doing what he does, and everything is b'Yosher u'B'Mishpat b'Kav Hadin, according to what the law requires. And he explains as follows, that even though there's Yosher u'Mishpat, there needs to be justice, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's relationship with humanity is le'etiv lahem. He wants to do good to them. So even though there sometimes appears something to us that it appears, or we perceive it as being bad, we should never interpret that as punishment. In Judaism, there is no such thing as God punishing. Even that which he does with Midat Hadin is mitoch ahava, is out of love. And the best way to describe it is what the Shlomo HaMelech says in Mishlei, right? That Kadosh Baruch Hu meyaser otanu, he makes us suffer in the same way ke'av hameyaser et beno, like a father gives a punishment to his child. Does he do it because he hates him? No. When a father exacts punishment onto his child, it's because he wants to teach him a lesson. So all of the lessons that HaKadosh Baruch Hu teaches us, that Hashgacha, that involves Dinu Mishpat, when he exacts punishment, it's not punishment in the sense he wants to get back at us. He wants to punish us. The way we understand punishment. No, it's all mitoch ahava, in the same way, like the Pasuk says, actually it's not in Mishlei, it's in Sefer Devarim. So anyway, so the whole idea behind this is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants etovat bnei Adam, he wants to do good unto them, and as a result of that, he needs to sometimes carry out something letovatenu, for our benefit, just like a father is interested in his child. As a result of this Hashgacha, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Yosher u'Mishpat, there will be two types of Hashgachot. One is a Hashgacha of Mizug, of Din and Rachamim. Mizug means a combination of Din and Rachamim. Din means justice, Rachamim means mercy. So one type of Hashgacha will be a Mizug, a combination of the two. It's not completely Din, but it always combines it with Rachamim. And another Hashgacha will be complete Rachamim. In other words, sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides, you know what, even though they deserve something not too good because of what they did, Ani El Rahum, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is El Rahum V'Hanun, Erech Hafayim L'Chesed Emet. He's able to overlook, Solech U'Mochel, and he's forgiving, and he acts with complete Rachamim. These are the basic two types of Hashgachot that will be noticeable. And he goes on to explain as follows, that don't think that just because HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Hashgacha is dependent on man's action. If man behaves himself in one type of Hashgacha, if man does not behave himself in another type of Hashgacha, just because HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Hashgacha on this Olam appears to be dependent on Maaseh Bnei Ha'adam, it is not necessarily so, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not tied down. He can actually do whatever he wants. He just created a system, Ma'arechet, a system where people's actions bring about certain reactions from Borei Olam. Certain types of Hashgachot, as we will see later on, something called Hastarat Panim or Ha'arat Panim. But even though this action or this reaction appears to happen automatically, it does not mean that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is tied down. Even though this is the law that he put in place, the law says, you did something like this, this is what you get, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not tied down to it, and he can actually do things beyond that. He can break the rules. He's not tied down to it. So don't think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is tied down. This is the way it always has to be. No, it doesn't always have to be. And that is the famous, of course, interpretation of En Mazal Yisrael. Not that we don't have, a mazal, but that we can change it to teshuvah, tefillah, tzedakah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is capable of changing even His own rules. Even though there is a mazal in place that a certain couple will not have children, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says no problem. Even if the woman is 100 years old, the Torah records, right? 90 years old actually. His man was 100, Abraham Avinu. They'll give birth. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants it, it can happen. And there have been many stories, many miracles. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of course, defied His own rules of teva, of nature. Yochevet, sure. And other people who doctors said no chance in the world. And how many times have we heard that they were wrong? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not tied down to it. That's called Yehud Shlitato. He has shlita. He has complete control over the situation. There is of course something that is handled through His system of mishpat, but there's also something that demonstrates Shehu Sholet Halakol. That He's the master and He controls everything. And that is seen, as we will see later on, when there are miracles. Because what is a miracle? Miracle is davar shu me'al hateva. The word in Hebrew, nes. Nes is davar gavoa. Something above nature, above the rules of nature. And if Am Yisrael behave themselves above the laws of nature, in other words, when they follow the rules, the Lord says also, I will behave with you. I will deal with you also above nature. I will do this even flower for you. But if not, Halila, if we don't do what we need to do, then of course who does everything according to the mishpat, according to the din. So as we just said, there's two types of hashgacha. One is called hashgacha mishpat Hashem yitbarach. The other one is called hashgacha shlita ve'yehud, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows that He is in control and that He overturns His own rules. Goes on to explain that this hashgacha has a different form, something called hashpa'ah. Hashpa'ah means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings down to this world hashpa'ah. How do we translate hashpa'ah? A certain abundance, a certain flow, blessing. And this hashpa'ah can be in two ways as well. It could be hashpa'ah al-hagufot, on the physical bodies. If people will have normal lives, they don't get sick, there's no war, there's peace and tranquility. That type of hashpa'ah is hashpa'ah al-hagufot. And there's also something called hashpa'ah ala-nefesh or ala-neshama, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu feels close to us. And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is close to an individual, that individual is able to have Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration. He's able to have nebuah, prophecy, which is on a different level. He's able to, if not on those levels, he's able at least to communicate with that individual b'halom halayla, in a dream. And everybody, we have a tradition that everybody, of course, dreams, but depending on the level, the madriga of that person, his dreams are on a different madriga as well. The madriga of the dream is reflected according to the madriga of a person. So a person could be an average person, but if he did an exceptionally good maaseh during that day, he might see an incredible, good, positive, clear dream, especially if it's right before he wakes up in the morning, which those dreams tend to be the clearest and the truest. But every dream has a little bit of sheker, a little bit of exaggeration, nonsense, and imagination. And that's why not everybody's able to figure out exactly what the dream is all about. Nevertheless, the neshama departs at night and is able to go as far as it can, depending according to its level. And the further it gets, it is able to see more and more, whether it's a future event or whether it's some other message that it's receiving. It's the Olam HaNeshamot. There's different madrigot, different levels in the Olam HaNeshamot. There's a place called Yeshiva Shel Malach. Yeshiva, where they actually learn. And great tzaddikim have been known to speak in their dream while they were asleep. Divrei Torah. The Ari HaKadosh was once, taking a nap. And when he woke up, the student asked him, what were you learning about? What were you talking about? Because if I were to tell you what I just learned in a few minutes that I took a nap, it would take me 80 years. In other words, that is how much he was able to grasp in the dream. And the dream is that when the neshama is able to absorb much more than the physical body is able to handle. Right? Here, with the physical body, our heads, our brains are not able to comprehend and know everything. But when the neshama is able to learn, he's able to grasp a lot more. All of that is called hashpa'ah.
Yes, I mean, they say that 1/60th of every dream is truth. Is that true?
No, what they say is, once a true dream is 1/60th of nebuah, of prophecy. Right, a true dream, on the level. Because the dream is the lowest level. Yeah, you have Ruach HaKodesh, you have nebuah, and you have a dream. And a dream is a level, it's a form of communication. HaKadosh Baruch Hu can communicate with you through a dream, Or other people who are departed from this world can communicate with you. Sometimes if they're given permission, you might see a relative come once in a while to your dream. And sometimes it could be a very simple dream. If your wife is pregnant and you have a relative coming to you in the dream, the only reason he's appearing to you in the dream is because he wants you to give his name. And that happens to a lot of people. I haven't seen him for 35 years. Why is this relative all of a sudden coming to my dream? Very possibly.
Do you ask for his name or not?
Not necessarily, but he's basically requesting. And if he got permission, if he's able to come in the dream, then you should consider it, depending, of course, who he was. You don't want to just give anybody's name. That's why some people give two names. Alright, so this is what's called hashpa'ah. There's hashpa'ah on the physical bodies, and there's also hashpa'ah ala neshamot. And ideally, he explains, what would be the ideal situation if people all over the world, not only the Jews, would do the Ratzon HaBoreh, they would behave themselves, they would have good midot, good character. What would happen as a result? Our whole relationship with Borei Olam would be different. There would be peace, there would be no war, there would be no suffering, and people would be close to Borei Olam. That's called He'arat Panim too, by the way. He'arat Panim is like a little who shows his face, and he blesses the individual or the community or the city. The other way around is called Hastarat Panim, like a little who hides his face. Takes away all the shefa, all the beracha. And what happens? People suffer, there's diseases, there's resha, there appears to be a lot of crime, people who are doing bad appear to get away with it. It only appears so. And there's no peace. All of this is called hastarat panim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is hiding his face. And what happens when HaKadosh Baruch Hu hides his face, it doesn't mean that he has abandoned the world, but what happens is the teva starts taking place, replacing control. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still there, like the Pasuk says in Shir HaShalim, Mashgiach min ha'chalanot u'matzitz min ha'charatim. He's still supervising on the back of a window. Right? Or he's looking through the cracks. He's still, of course, watching. Oy vavoy, if he wouldn't be watching at all, what would happen to us? So, of course, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But he removes himself back, maintains a distance, and he allows the teva, in other words, take over. So if you happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, sometimes you get caught, because the hashgacha is being removed. When there is hashgacha, so even though you're in a dangerous place, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching over you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu appoints, designates malachim. They are the malachim that you created by the mitzvot. Every mitzvah that a Jew performs creates a malach. And these malachim speak up for him when he passes away. These malachim protect him in this world, depending what mitzvah it is. Certain mitzvot have a special segula. The mitzvah of tzedakah, for example, according to the Kabbalah, leaves a roshem ala metzach. It leaves an impression on the forehead for an entire week. You did Sunday, you gave tzedakah for an entire week. That roshem is on the metzach. In other words, the mashchitim, the mechablim, the destructive angels, they can see that. That segula may be able to protect you, if it's strong enough, for an entire week. Anyway, so this is the difference between hastarat panim and ne'arat panim. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself, when he shows himself, there's peace, there's shefa, there's beracha, and chas v'shalom, when he hides his face, there's the opposite. And that is why, as he just mentioned, during the Shoah, during the Holocaust, that was a typical example of what the Torah already predicts, is Vanochi aster atil panai, I will hide my face. Whether it was the Shoah, the Holocaust, whether it was Kurban by Rishon or Kurban by Sheni, anytime the Jewish people are what appear to be abandoned, being thrown out of their home destroyed, that is the greatest hastarat panim possible.
The Holocaust was one of the biggest tikkun for Israel, right?
It's always a tikkun, because as we just were saying before, the whole relationship we have with Hashem is like a father to a son, to a child. It means our benefit. It's for our good what happened. Like it says, the Churban, what happened in the Churban? HaKadosh Baruch Hu vented his anger on wood and stones, instead of venting his anger on the physical bodies around. Unfortunately, in the Holocaust, it was both. The communities were destroyed, many physical bodies were destroyed, but the neshamot were destroyed. Right? That is why, even if the enemy is able, halila, to kill us, all they're doing is killing the guf, not the neshama. So when a Jew is put to the test, he has to sacrifice his body or his religion. Obviously, he needs to sacrifice his body, because the body is the body. His religion, not only is he giving up his olam haba, but it's also a terrible example for others who are witnesses. Rabbi Chanan Wasserman, Hashem Yinkom Damo, right before he was killed, together with his community, he gave a derasha. The last derasha, they all knew where they were going. See, a lot of people during the Holocaust didn't know. They thought they were going to work. Until it became more and more evidence later on what the Nazis are up to. But in the beginning they didn't know. This could continue. Chaim Luzzatto got up, and by the way, he was in America when this was already happening. They told him, don't go back. Can't be right. And he went back and he got killed with them. When he was with them the last day or so, he gave a derasha. The derasha was not only for encouragement, that they should not feel bad about what is happening to them. He convinced them, and that's the truth, that they are going to kiddush Hashem. Don't think you're just being killed like sheep, being butchered. Some people might think like that, Everybody's being butchered, and they may lose hope, they lose their faith, they're depressed. He encouraged them, he tells them, we're going to kiddush Hashem. So we're like korbanot, we're like sacrifices. Therefore, let's make sure that we don't put a blemish on the sacrifice should be without a blemish, remove. So since we are like sacrifice, korbanot, olah, it should be olah temima, it should be complete without any blemishes. Therefore, let's make sure we go kiddush Hashem b'simcha, be'ahava, gladly going to do this mitzvah. There's another story of another group of Jews that were headed toward a mass grave. No, in that case it wasn't a mass grave, it must have been a gas chamber. They were headed, they walked long distances. Many got killed or died in the way. This group was depressed. People were broken. Who wouldn't be? You needed tremendous emunah and bitachon, and that is where Rabbi Elyahu Kin gave his derasha. You know what? If you know where you're going, your parents are being killed in front of your eyes, little babies are being thrown against the wall. I mean, you should never know this situation. This happened throughout history many times. So you can imagine somebody like that on his way to his death. He's broken. The Germans somehow thought up of an ingenious way to make more fun of these Jews. At the last moment, imagine, it was so cruel, they thought up of another ingenious way. What are they going to do? They took parochet of, I know what parochet is, the curse. Now, what does it say on the parochet? It's not on this one. On that one, it says, Zeh Ashar Lashem, Tzadikim Yavohu Bo. And they put that parochet on top of the entrance of the gas chamber to make fun of the Jews. Zeh Ashar. They didn't realize that what they were doing gave encouragement to the Jews. As soon as the Jews saw the parochet, Zeh Ashar Lashem, Tzadikim Yavohu Bo, they started dancing. The Jews started dancing. These depressed people, they're going to their death, they saw that they were dancing. The Germans couldn't understand what was going on. These guys are crazy. They're going to die and they're dancing. Why? They had good reason to dance and to be happy. At the most dismal moment, at a moment of you're completely broken, you've lost hope, somehow gave them this crazy idea to the Germans, which gave a tremendous idud, was a source of encouragement to these Jews. Because this is the truth. They're all tzaddikim, no matter how, even if they were not so religious. The fact that they died because they're Jews, that is a tremendous tikkun for them. Because they died because they were Jewish. Any Jew who died because he was Jewish, is in a tremendous madriga, tremendous mana, tremendous level. So even the hastarat panim, even when HaKadosh Baruch Hu hides his face, he does not completely abandon us. Ultimately, he means our benefit, our good. It's a big kaparat avonot. It's a tremendous atonement. Okay, he goes on to explain that because people are different, some people are much more materialistic than others. Materialistic meaning here that they don't use their neshama the way they should. They put much more of an emphasis on their body. People are on different levels, right? We are comprised of the two. We have this earthly body that wants and desires food, sleep, and other things. Right? I think you all understand. I don't have a right list of things that human beings like, right? And then there's the neshama that has other desires, more spiritual desires. And people are on different levels. As a result of the different levels, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hashgacha on people is also composite. It's a composite hashgacha of a little bit of hastarat panim, a little bit of he'arat panim. In other words, a little bit of HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows himself, a little bit he hides himself, depending on the level of the person, as I was saying before, with the dream. The greater a person is, the clearer the dream is, the truer the dream is, the less shtuyot, the less nonsense. The more a person is able to know, HaKadosh Baruch Hu directs him with clarity. That is why we go to tzaddikim, seeking advice. Why to a tzaddik? What, does he know better? He doesn't have a degree in business administration. No, but a tzaddik will tell you what to do. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu will use him as a vehicle to give the right advice to these people who are coming to him. He can use him as a keli. A man, and he can become a keli, a vessel for all this hashra'ah, for all this divine providence to come down. The greater a person is, the higher level, HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows himself more. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitkasher elav yoter, builds a greater bond. That is to the extent she'ad kedei kach sh'lefamim ha'tzadik gozer v'HaKadosh Baruch Hu mekayem. That even though HaKadosh Baruch Hu had originally had something in mind for this couple, no children, that's their mazal. A tzaddik gaza, Kadosh Baruch Hu kiyem. Tzaddik sometimes has the koach of decreeing, not that he's overruling Hashem's decree, but he's able to intercede so much that Kadosh Baruch Hu is willing to change the decree, to change the destiny of that individual. That is what we call tzaddikim. Kadosh Baruch Hu, of course, the Chazdo Gadol, shatal, he implanted in every generation tzaddikim, a little bit in every generation, so we should have who to turn to, but also, because of the tzaddikei ador, the generation can survive. We have some zechuyot, because of those special individuals that exist in every generation. So every individual has a combination of hashgacha, depending on his level. It could be more, it could be less. Okay, the next point it says is as follows. If we look at the history as a whole, you will see the hashgacha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu on a general level being divided into 4 parts. Part number 1 is the very beginning of creation, which was called Tohu. Tohu means confusion, darkness. At that point, there was not too much hashpa'ah, in a sense. There was a lot of choshech. The reason why there's a lot of darkness and the reason why it's called Tohu is because there was no Torah. And you had a lot of idolatry, right? The generation of Terah, father of Abraham Avinu. So that is the period of Tohu. There was no yedi'ah of Borei Olam. There was no knowledge or worship of Borei Olam. That was one era, one time, one period. The second era, and as a result of that, the ashgacha or the ashpa'ah was not as much felt. The second era, I don't know if he's saying it necessarily in order, but the second era was the era where we had the Torah, we received the Torah, but we did not always have Nevi'im or Ruach HaKodesh. It was a better situation, much better than the one that there was no Torah. So the Ashgaha was much more evident. The third era, he says, is when we had the Bet HaMikdash. The era that we had the Bet HaMikdash, there was much more Ashgaha, much more He'ara, and we were actually able to see Ototim Bofim. We were actually able to see miracles, especially during the Beit Rishon, especially during the first house. The rabbis tell us if the Goyim would only have known what Ashpa'ah, what Shefa, what Beracha comes down to the Bet HaMikdash, not only would they never have destroyed it, they would have put up guards to protect it. So nobody realizes what we had. Not only the Goyim, but the Jews themselves don't realize what they had and what they lost. And this is what we should be praying for. Because there was a tremendous hara, tremendous hashpa'ah, tremendous hashgacha on the world itself when that Bet HaMikdash exists. He may talk about it later. I don't know if he does. I'm just going to say it anyway because I'm not sure if he speaks about it. Because later on there's a chapter about Kishu, about witchcraft. All these kohot that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created in the world, what they do and how they work. If you read a little bit about the mitzvot, certain mitzvot that we have, the Ketores, the Avodat in the Bet HaMikdash, certain korbanot, certain things that the Kohen Gadol did. The whole idea of the Bet HaMikdash, a great deal of that was to be megaresh the Ruach HaTum'ah sheba'aretz, to remove or to overpower that Ruach of Tum'ah, that spirit of impurity that exists out there. In other words, through the Bet HaMikdash, the Kohen Gadol, through this Avodah, there was a tremendous koach to defeat all these kohot that are out there. There are all sorts of kohot. And today, most of you perhaps are more familiar with something called Ain Hara, the evil eye, not Kishufim, even though there's Kishufim too. So even for these things that are on a much lower level than Kishuv, Ain Hara, there are ways that one can defend himself and one can protect himself. These things, these are harmful elements that exist outside. And the more a person is attached to Torah, the higher a person is in the Madrigah, these things do not affect him. The fourth era is the era that B'ezrat Hashem we will have L'atid Lavo in the future. At that time, what will happen? What will be the difference in the fourth era and all the other eras? There will no longer be sichlut. There will no longer be ignorance. The whole world will see, the whole world will know. Ruach HaKodesh yeshafuch al kol min ha'enoshi, he says, below koshik lav. Everybody will have Ruach HaKodesh. There will be no difficulty in acquiring that. At that moment, yigamer binyano shel hamin ha'enoshi. At that moment, it will be the culmination, the end of the construction or the development of the human race, of civilization as we know it. Because from that point on, the world will continue for a certain amount of time, even though he calls it Netzach Netzachim, but still there will be different periods, but the common denominator will be that there will be only pleasure. No more Yisurim, no more pain and suffering, no more disease, no more death, no more wars. That will happen at the end of the fourth era. So we see that Kadosh Baruch Hu is Hashgacha in this world is divided into various eras, each one according to the level of that particular era. And during the past about 250 years, we were blessed with the Hasidut. Even though that may sound a little strangely, Hasidut, there was a lot of politics and a lot of fights about what Hasidut was trying to introduce. But the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought down the Baal Shem Tov, the whole movement sprang up, it's for a reason. It didn't just develop for nothing. Most people who are not Hasidim will not even understand what Hasidut is all about. But what the Hasidut came down into this world right before Mashiach comes is to restore something that was lacking. Am Yisrael may have been learning Torah. They made yeshivot, but that was dry. It was without any simcha. They were lacking in avodat Hashem, in the service of Hashem. It was much more of an intellectual activity to become learned and to know the Torah. And the very first reformers were intellectual Jews. They were very bright and they knew Gemara, but they learned the Gemara without a kippah. Because they were bright, they said, they were able to behave according to what they thought was correct, not according to what the Chachamim said. Anyway, so what did the Hasidut come along and did? They restored that avodat Hashem, that happiness, the ibdut Hashem b'simcha. That is where the Hasidim are much more. Sadness, depression, all of that, and especially during a time when we are being persecuted by Goyim, we're in Galut, there was always a danger that the Jew will look to escape, to find something better or more attractive. And many Jews did. They went to colleges and universities. They said, this cheder is not for me. This is boring stuff. I don't want to live like a poor Jew in a ghetto. There was a certain stigma, a certain mentality that was being developed. The pride of the Jew was being lost. And here, we don't see Mashiach around the corner. You can imagine what the Jews were experiencing. So there were always dangers, different dangers in every country depending on the place and the generation. Comes along the Hasidut in an incredible way. It made it a revolution, but did not necessarily change the whole world, but at least illuminated a little bit the world by introducing this simcha, this avodat Hashem, the importance of that, not just the learning. Learning is very important. We need to know how to live our lives. We need to know halakha, but that's not all. The avodat Hashem was lacking. Sincerity, the openness, the relationship with Hashem, that needed strengthening. And this HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of course, is doing at the time right before Mashiach is about to come, because at this time there's going to be even more dark. Yes, the fourth era, there will be a lot of light, but that's after Mashiach has arrived. But right before it, a tremendous amount of darkness. And that darkness has to do with what? With shira, with heresy, science. Up until 150, 180 years ago, people were religious. They believed in something. Little by little, as a result of this industrial revolution, as a result of the introduction of science and medicine, there's a tremendous amount of darkness, and people are turning away. Comes along, umakdim refuah lemakah. In other words, he brought about the remedy before the makah, before the disease. Injected in the Jewish blood, in the Jewish psyche. This needs to be ended. Simcha. Why? Why simcha? So what's the secret behind simcha? Well, if you read the Torah, you will find that HaKadosh Baruch Hu מאוד הקפיד. תחת אשר לא עבדתם את השם אלוקיך. שמחה. בטוב לבב, מרוב כל. When you have abundance, when you have everything, when you're blessed and you have money, oy vavoy, at that time, at that point, you don't serve Hashem with simcha. Then you should be even more happy. You have no excuses that you're poor. But there were times that Jews were prospering and they did not, because Vayishman Yeshurun Vayivat. There's always that Yetzer Hara. When you become rich, you forget about it. You look down at people. You not only look down at people. You know what they say when a person becomes rich, they forget their friends. No, they were. He was very close to me. As soon as he became a politician, as soon as he became rich, forgot about me. Well, the same thing unfortunately happens with Hashem too. He needed me when he was poor. He cried his heart out to me. Now he forgot about me. It happens. So this generation, where there's all this choshech and and confusion, and there's the higher standard of living, many Jews unfortunately can assimilate, lose their identity. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought about something to inject into the Jewish people, that hopefully to the simcha, to the avodat Hashem, they will be able to escape the shackles of this darkness, this civilization. And if you look at families who are Hasidim, Hasidic families, whether it's in Yerushalayim or New York or elsewhere, you will see a greater emphasis in not allowing any of the influences in the street to enter the house. Asur, nothing. They're very protective of their children. There's a greater emphasis on a certain greater awareness of the dangers in a regular household. There are a lot of good homes that are not Hasidim too. It doesn't mean that they can't be, but they put a greater emphasis because they realize that the danger is coming and they have to protect even more. We're not going to speak the language of the Goyim, only Yiddish or Hebrew, whatever. We're only going to dress with our dress code, right? And for sure, we're not going to change the name. All of this is for a reason, a very good reason, especially in this generation where there's so much influences out there trying to penetrate the house, trying to get in. You have to work much more to leave it out. God forbid not to bring it in intentionally. That's for sure not. But even non-intentionally, sometimes it just crawls in. Give you the best example. The internet. Whoever works on the internet, all of a sudden you have something pop up. You didn't even ask for it. They just throw it at you. And they call it today spam or junk or whatever. And some of it is very, very not modest. They don't care. They're interested in selling something. But as a result of all these dangers that lurk outside, the Jew has to be even more careful. This is unfortunately part of the hastara that we're living through, that Rosh Baruch Hu hides his face. Part of hiding his face is not because he's punishing us. On the contrary, he's waiting for us to, he's knocking on the door. He wants us to look for him, search for him. So the hastara, in a sense, is what? Is not only intended to teach us a lesson, it's also intended for us to reach the conclusion, oh, now I see. Now I reach the conclusion. All of this, it must be because Hashem is not with me that there's all of this is happening. That is the conclusion that every Jew in Eretz Israel should reach today. It's not because of the Prime Minister, it's not Arafat, it's not this and it's not this and it's not that. It's because we are not behaving ourselves. Don't blame everybody else. The ultimate message of Astarat Panim is not the punishment itself. What did we say in the very beginning of the chapter? HaKadosh Baruch Hu's relationship with us is le'tiv lanu. Like a father to a son, he loves us. He doesn't punish us. He doesn't hate us. He doesn't take revenge. Even though we've lost many lives, it's only the physical body that's his love. I'm not minimizing it. It's a big upset, it's a big loss. But the greatest message of the Astarat Panim is reach that conclusion. All these things that are happening, it must be because God is happy. Therefore, do something about it. That should be the ultimate message that everybody should wake up with. The last point that we're going to talk about is a fascinating point, and that is how the Hashgaha actually works in real life. There's Hashgaha Klalit, we spoke about the general terms. In the most general terms, you can see the Hashgaha even on your physical body every single day. The fact that, Baruch Hashem, we're able to eat, and that same system that eats food, digests it, and then there's a waste system that takes it out, there's liquids in this, there's solids in here. The person all he needs to do to see the Hashgaha Klalit is look at his body. It's a tremendous Hashgaha. That's Hashgaha too, because if for one moment it stops, right? So in other words, you can see the Hashgaha on your own body every single day, every single moment. You can see the Hashgaha Klalit in the world. But the most incredible Hashgaha, if people's eyes are open, is the Hashgaha HaNisit, the miraculous Hashgaha. What did we say before? There's Teva, there's Nisit. There's rules, and there's a Nes. Nes is when Hashem breaks his rule. There, it becomes even more obvious. Why? Because we're not used to it. We're used to nature. Okay, nature. Because the Shemesh Zorahat, the sun goes up every day, right? The world turns around. We get used to it. So when there is a Nes, Yesh Elokim, there must be a God. So I'm going to talk just a little bit for the next few minutes on various examples of how you can see Hashgaha Pratit and in various levels. Some are incredible and some are less. Okay, let's begin with one. My great-grandfather was walking down a street in Poland, and a Polak threw a stone at him, at his eye. It got to his eye, gave him a black and blue mark. And when he threw the stone at him, he yelled at him, Žid, which is an insulting way of calling a Jew. Žid, go to Palestine. This is in the early 20s. Comes home, bruised up, and tells his wife, imagine, the Goy has to remind me to go to Israel. I didn't think of it myself. The Goy has to remind me. We're going, he says. This is Min HaShamayim. Packed his bags up and left. And as a result of him leaving on time, he saved his family in the Holocaust. So, yeah, because of that Goy. So, what did he realize? He, first of all, had tremendous bitachon b'Hashem, and he realized that kol ma'aseh, every deed and everything that happens in life is b'Hashgaha Pratit. The fact that even though the Goy hates us, it's true. And they always throw stones. But the fact that he threw a stone at me, only at me, and he yelled at the same time, go to Palestine, that can't be a coincidence. What does that have to do with anything? Right? So, that's Hashgaha Pratit. Pratit meaning on an individual scale. And what did that accomplish? He needed to save his family. It was time to get up and leave. That's all. My grandfather is, no. That was my great-grandfather from my grandmother's side. My grandfather, who was not his son, but his son-in-law, I guess. Yeah, his son-in-law. He also, as a young man, he had a drive to move to Eretz Israel. He went and gave the Rashot. He was a big darshan. convince people to move to it. He says the earth is burning underneath. And he tried to convince people, not everybody listens, some people listen. One of his brothers, I think, was almost ready to go. As he was boarding the ship, changed his mind. Going up the ship, changed his mind. And went, for whatever reason. Unfortunately, the Holocaust took him. However, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted it. In other words, HaKadosh Baruch Hu had some list or somehow on who needed to survive and who not. But some people on their own realized that it's time to go, something is about to happen. And who gave him this idea? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All of that is called Hashgacha Pratit. HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides who's going to live and who's going to die. My father-in-law was fighting on the Russian front with the Germans. And he says, we went out, we were a couple of thousand soldiers. On the other side were a couple of thousand soldiers. And in one of the battles, the Battle of Königsberg, it was a very, very intense, fierce battle. It says thousands got killed like sardines. He said they were laying on the floor. And I and a few more, maybe another 10, 20, 30 out of a few thousand survived. He says, I don't understand. He says, I wore a winter coat. It was winter, colder. He says, my whole coat was perforated with shrapnel. You know what shrapnel does? Shrapnel kills, just like a flying bullet. It's going at a tremendous velocity. My whole coat was, why did it go in here and not go in here? So the Rav of Belz, Allah used to say, he also escaped the Holocaust. Is any Jew that has got out of the Holocaust alive, it can only be because he always had two malachim protecting him at all times. It could not have been that. Why did he? Yes and not. They must have protected him. And every Jew that survived can tell you, fill a whole book of miracles that he had every day. Incredible miracles. This guy, the Nazi gun jammed. My father-in-law had another situation where Germans suspected that he was Jewish. He was hiding in a farm. And my father-in-law, Baruch Hashem, was able to get away because he was blonde. And he was working in a farm. But the Germans told him, take off your pants. He wanted to see the circumcised. My father-in-law thought, that's it. It's over. Somehow he didn't notice. He couldn't tell if it was or not. It was somehow, it was not about his a little bit clothes and the way he held his hands. Maybe he was able to hide it a little bit. Either way, the Germans said, okay, go. Hashgacha Pratit. He needed to live for whatever reason, survive. That's an example of Hashgacha Pratit, and we can't minimize it because it meant life or death. It's not just something. We know it's not a coincidence. Remember Pan American Airlines? Pan Am? Over Lockerbie? There was a group of Hasidim that were supposed to board the plane in London. Their wives were already inside. They came a little late. And you know they're very cold and rude, and they couldn't care less. Sorry, you're late. But our wives aren't here. You can have your wives come out if you want, but you can't go in. Okay, we want to travel together. So their wives, from what I recall, their wives and children were already inside the plane. They took them out. The plane crashed, of course. Those Hasidim were not meant to be on that group. The other guy I heard was trapped in the bathroom. He went to the restroom for a while. He couldn't get out the door. He missed the flight. A lot of people complain, oh, I missed the flight. Well, Gamzu Letovah, maybe you missed it for a good reason. Now let me ask you a question. Take two individuals who had Hashgacha Pratit. One got stuck in traffic and missed the plane. One got on the plane crashed and survived. Which one is a bigger miracle? The one who missed the plane or the one who was on the plane and crashed and survived? Which one is better? Which one is the second one? The one that crashed? The first one is the one who missed the plane? Yeah. Why? Right. The plane that crashed, the Jew that was on the plane that crashed, of course, survived a big miracle. It's a bigger miracle. But the bigger ma'aseh, the bigger zechut, belongs to the Jew who missed the plane altogether. Hashem did not want him to even go through the trouble and the pain and the shock of surviving a crash. Yes, the guy had some zechut to survive a big miracle. 1 in a million, to survive a plane crash. The guy who missed the plane is better off. That's bigger. Bigger zechut at least. Both of them are Hashgacha Pratit. But the greater Hashgacha is he missed the plane. And an even greater Hashgacha is Hashem would not even put it into the guy's mind to buy a ticket for that day. He doesn't even deserve even that. I could have been on that plane. Gama Pachad, even that fear is a little bit of a kaparat amuno. So Kadosh Baruch Hu mashgiach v'Hashgacha Pratit. You're not going to be on that plane. Remember the Swiss Air that crashed over Canada? There was a big rabbi that was supposed to be on that flight. At the end, he canceled. He canceled it and postponed his flight. Kadosh Baruch Hu did not want him to be on that. But he almost could have been in that flight. So he saw at least the miracle that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did with him. So there is a good part of this too. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mar'elo, I took care of you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed everybody somehow, one way or another, Shu mashgiach hakulam. Another example, during the 6-Day War, there were some Sanchanim, parachuters, over the old city. And one of them jumped. And as you know, during that fight, one of the biggest dangers was snipers. Jordanian snipers were very good. And many got killed from the snipers, just from the snipers.
While they were coming down.
And they were shooting as they were coming down, to imagine. And the guy, Baruch Hashem, came down, the shalom. Nothing happened to him. But he saw bullets flying all over the place, and he checked his bags, and he noticed that there was a hole in the siddur that he had over here, in this pocket. There was a hole in the siddur. Had he not had the siddur, had he not taken the siddur, he was hesitating to take the siddur. As a result of taking the siddur, maybe even that bag, holding it here, that saved his life. Put it into his head, take that bag. Another great miracle that happened, you remember Yom Kippur War? The Syrians advanced. All of a sudden, they thought, there must be a trap here. We're going to be ambushed. And they went back. Incredible. They themselves don't know what happened to them. All over Jewish history, you see this tremendous Hashgacha Pratit.
World War II. They retreated.
Anyway, that's just a few examples of Hashgacha Pratit. What they all have in common, of course, is that this Hashgacha is Hashgacha Nisit. There's all sorts of Hashgacha. This is his world. He protects it on different levels. For the Goyim, it's on one level. For Am Yisrael, it's on another level, called Hashgacha Pratit. Each individual has Hashgacha. But the greatest Hashgacha of all is Hashgacha Nisit, when everybody's able to see that there was a miracle performed there. That shows directly, more better than anything else, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is involved. He intercedes. He took care of the situation. It couldn't have been anywhere else. Even Yitzhak Rabin got out in the radio to discuss himself and says, I'm not religious. But what just happened was a miracle, he said. He meant the second Kabbalistic that landed next to the gas lines. It just happened to be that a week or two before they shut it down because there was a leak. Yeah. Why was there a leak? Because who wanted them to shut it down? Because he knew the Scud would come there. Why did Hashem make it the discussion not go somewhere else? Because Hashem wanted them to see the mess. So he made it that it should be extinguished, it should be shut down, the valve, and the Scud should land at its intended place. So there should be a miracle. Hopefully, a few irreligious secular Jews should wake up from this.
And the guy with the picture of the building collapsing.
Neche. He's crippled. The whole building collapsed around him.
And he's on the rest of it.
This is nothing. So, Hashem, very soon, we're going to see even greater than this.